significantly under budget, and it's really all in the water. The water contract with the golf course was increased at the end of the year for this year. The previous board had budgeted for that amount, and the invoices received so far this year have been under that budget amount. So the total expenses for the first 6 months are over budget by $52,684. We were over budget in income, which does offset some of those expenses. So we are not good to budget or under budget by $26,676. Board, do you have any questions on the financials?
Why was the property tax not budgeted the past few years? Do you know?
I don't know the exact detail of that. I think some of it was the property taxes from previous years from the previous management company weren't paid. So we did a catch up of those, but I can certainly look into it and get you a detail of what and where. Property taxes for HOAs are typically very low. So that was a catch up that kind of caught us all by surprise.
Okay.
We will need an motion and a second to accept the financials as presented, subject to audit at the end of the year.
So moved.
Thank you, John.
I'll second.
Thank you, Alex. Okay, any other board discussion on the motion?
Just one thing on the property tax that Jill talked about.
Mhm.
Can we get the dates of when they were owed and for what time period when you do that, Harmon?
Sure, I'll put together a spreadsheet with the actual parcel numbers and the dates owed and the amount paid for you for the board.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, John.
Any other discussion on the motion? Okay. Any homeowner comment on the motion on the floor, which is the acceptance of the financials? Amy, I'm asking you to unmute as your comment on the motion currently on the floor.
Yes, I actually did not get to see what the amount we paid for legal fees.
The financials are posted on the website for homeowners to view also.
Okay, but what was the total of that?
Legal fees that have been paid so far this year are $13,951. But that does include collection fees, things like that, that go to legal homeowners that are past due. Okay, thank you. Any other homeowner comment on the motion on the floor? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Next, we are moving on to new business. We do have the re-election topic. We will need a motion and a second going forward to discuss.
I motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Alex. Okay. Forward, you did go ahead and motion in a second to have a re-election for the community. You may now open up for discussion.
I'll start off, guys. So obviously we know in the last few weeks we had a couple homeowners call in stating that they did not sign ballots that were then counted towards the election. So based on that fact, I definitely think it's in the best interest of the entire community that we do another election and just make sure it's as transparent, as clean as possible.
So with that being said, we understand that there was during the election a handful of people that did call in that did confirm that they did not in fact vote. And so that combined with the total, I can't recall the exact total, was it 3, 4 individuals that called after the election was completed? to confirm or invalidate or say that their ballot or was not valid. So it's very unfortunate, and I really feel that the right thing to do, as Cody has just mentioned, is run a re-election. I don't know what do we talk about specifics on what we did decide? Perfect.
Yeah.
So the plan is that we are going to proceed forward with an election, including all of the candidates that originally petitioned to run in May. And with that, we are going to limit to electronic ballots that are of high integrity is what it's referred to. And that election is going to be handled through Election Buddy. The Election Buddy system is the same one that we use for the electronic ballots from the prior election. And the alternative to that will be homeowners may appear in person at Focus with their valid state ID in order to vote in person, at which point someone will make a photocopy of that, including the ballot and the voter's ID, in order to record that. Those will be handled, as well as the electronic ballots, by Focus to transit them to our handler, which is our legal representation, CHDB, in which they will then handle the ballot accounting and the validation, the record keeping for that.
Yeah, so if I can step in, Brooke, we're gonna have an outside legal firm handle the election, correct?
Correct. All
Correct.
validation, all ballots, everything will be held by CHDB law.
CHP, okay, perfect. Yeah, so we'll have them handle all the counting and everything on it. And then one other thing, Brooke, if an owner comes in to do an in-person ballot, are you guys able to give them some form of receipt or something showing that, hey, I brought a ballot in, I signed it? What can you guys offer, and what can legal counsel offer the owners who come in to sign ballots in person?
They will be drawing up a document that can be signed by the homeowner and whoever accepts it in our office. Saying
So
they
when
dropped
did all
off their
this get
ballot.
decided? Because when we met, whatever night it was, we hadn't laid out the specifics yet. And now all of a sudden it's in place that homeowners are bringing ballots to Focus again. CHPD is going to be the attorney.
Yeah.
We had not discussed specifics. And now all of a sudden you guys have it all planned. I'm kind of confused.
Yeah, I don't think anything's decided yet, Jill. To that,
It sounds like it, the way you guys are talking.
now this is, we're supposed to discuss it here on the call, figure out what makes the most sense. And on the legal part, Brooke, I thought we wanted to have an outside legal team handle this, not our current legal team.
You asked for, a suggestion was go to a CPA firm. We have contacted the CPA firms that Mark Saul had presented, and they are not available to do your election.
Well, I'm sure they're not the only CPA firms that we could turn to.
Can we find another one?
Yeah.
I contacted 3, so I can see if there's any other recommendations. It is you need an HOA CPA law firm. We contacted Ginsberg and Dowaliby per the recommendation of Mark Saul. We contacted Butler Hanson at the recommendation of Mark Saul and Brad Enos.
Would it be out of line to inquire or solicit for recommendations from members of our association if they happen to have someone that could handle this for us?
As long as they're an HOA CPA firm.
The ballots are still going to Focus. Is that correct?
The ballots the ballots aren't going to us. It's only a
You just
paper
said
ballot.
they were bringing, you said, I think Alex said that the homeowner would have the other option of bringing the ballot into Focus where they would show their ID and get some kind of receipt.
There is no
That was
That was
per
never
my own understanding, to be clear. That is per my own understanding, and that's why we're having the discussion here in the open with the rest of the homeowners so that we can firm that up. That the going to the attorney's office would require homeowners to travel to Tempe. If they would like to do that, perhaps we can, whoever ends up being the legal representation or whomever is going to handle this for us. If people would rather drive down there, I have no problem with asking them to be the drop-off place for that. Whatever works best.
There
Why
will
don't
be
we have
no-
a one day, hey, why don't we like rent a room in the library and have a one day election and homeowners come in and they vote there, show their ID, and we simplify this.
Who at the library would handle that? I'm not familiar with
No, I'm
that.
not saying the library would handle it. I'm just saying rent a room at the library.
Fair,
You
but
know, where we
that would
could,
leave us
where we could
open-
hold it and the homeowners come there and they cast their vote.
Yeah, but wouldn't that leave us open for more ambiguity on votes? I mean, we really want to have someone official, airtight on whatever it is that we decide to do so that there is no question marks after the fact.
Yeah, but you know what, Marcus, there's huge questions about the integrity of Focus as well as the attorney out in the
Fair.
community.
Fair, and we're not disputing that. Well, that was just option 2 of 3, right? We want to make it convenient to homeowners where they can either do it online with that Vote Buddy or whatever it's called, at Focus with an ID and or the attorney's office. But if someone can't drive to Tempe or Scottsdale, wherever this attorney's office ends up being, it has to be. We want the majority to vote. We need more participation. And if we cut that off and get rid of Focus, who is 2 miles away from our neighborhood, that may remove some people from actually voting.
So just as a reminder, no paper ballots are being sent out. So if somebody wanted to vote in person, they would either need to go to Focus or CHDB to get a paper ballot that has a serial number on it to vote, and they have to vote at that exact time.
Okay.
Again, the desire is for this to be airtight. The hope desire is that this doesn't happen again. We revote and we move on, and this doesn't come up. That's the plan. That's the desire, and it's all behind us.
Is there a way with the election buddy thing? I know it can do the emails like we saw in the last one. Are there other features or functions that it offers that we might be able to take advantage of to help provide other options to the community?
I'm not sure what you're meaning.
So when I was doing a little homework, I thought you could do like a SMS text message or stuff like that. Are those options that we have available to, you know?
No, we
No.
don't have homeowners' phone numbers. We have their emails. A lot of homeowners don't provide phone numbers. They do not have to provide them to us. So that is not an option for text message.
Okay.
Now, as far as a starting date on this, I think that it would be fair to give some heads up time so that people that are not here, that may have been on the ballot, for example, before, could become aware, hey, you're on a ballot again. But also to allow for whomever is interested in still taking the election to run it seriously, that they have time to prepare in order to be able to, you know, have a chance to get themselves up and running. Is that fair? Does that make sense? Is that something that we should do?
Your attorney does need to draft the ballot as well, so you have to give them a little time to do that.
Sure.
Brooke, what timeline would we realistically be looking at for a revote? Today's what, the 24th of July. Realistically, giving the 12 notice and then giving the attorney time to draft. What's our timeline look like?
I would say, so if they draft, I would say if you get approved tonight for them to draft it, then it would be drafted by the beginning of next week, say, and then it would be ready for Election Buddy to upload to their system. So your vote would be at least about 35 to 40 days out.
With it, it's something that also would allow time. I know I've heard that some owners aren't getting emails from you guys, Brooke. And I imagine that goes back to whatever the email they have on the portal is. I think we also would need to make sure we send notice out, or obviously we can't email notice out, but somehow let everybody know, hey, if you're not getting emails, let's get on the portal, check to make sure you've got updated information on there. So it does go to the correct email address beforehand too, I think would be very beneficial.
So we're just ignoring the fact that most people in the community, number one, don't trust Focus. Number two, don't trust the attorney. And we're using both of them again for this revote. How does that make any sense?
I don't think that we've made the decision yet.
Well, you know what, Alex? It certainly sounds like a lot of things were discussed apart from that meeting we had the other night, because I sit down here and all of a sudden you guys have this quasi plan for the new election.
Do you
And
have
I'm
a
sitting here like,
recommendation?
what? We haven't talked details yet.
Do you have a
So
recommendation?
you guys get to just choose, and that's, you know, that's up to you. But I'm telling you, the community's not going to have any more faith in this election when Focus is involved and this attorney is involved.
Cool. Okay.
Zero faith.
So even with
no
an ID,
recommendations?
even with an ID vote to vote, they're not gonna have any faith in that? I mean, it's quite a concept, right? It's something we even discussed at a national level, state level. But do you think that an ID is not enough?
I think an ID is crucial to it, yes.
Okay.
But I don't think Focus should be the one that is managing it or having people come into Focus
Well, that's what we're
to
talking.
ask if they can vote electronically or whatever it is you guys have suggested.
We're trying to figure out, we're trying to get a third party independent attorney's firm to work with.
Well, Focus is not an independent third party. The attorney is
Fair.
not an independent third party.
We get that. So
Again-
let's figure it out. We can fight about it, or we can solve a problem. So let's solve a problem. How do
Okay.
we go about doing that? Do we want to designate some people on the board in order to go and investigate and come back with some proposed solutions for third parties that could solve this for us? Would you
Are you
be
asking
willing to help
me?
me find that, Jill? If you and
Yeah.
I were to go and work on that, would you be willing to help me?
Sure.
Perfect.
And Jill, or I'm sorry, Brooke. We spoke to current counsel about other third-party HOA attorney fees. He recommended 3, and all 3 were not available.
Correct. It's not attorneys, they're CPA firms,
Okay,
so accountants.
Got it.
An attorney will not pick up and do an election for another attorney. It's a CPA firm.
got it.
And he gave us 3 recommendations and they all declined.
Were they all East Valley or were they valley-wide?
They're valley-wide.
Oh, okay.
Why, Brooke, why is the stipulation that they are an HOA accounting firm?
Because they know how to hold an HOA election. And the rules
You would
for
think,
HOAs.
that an accounting firm would be able to do that even if they were not an HOA accounting. firm.
Yes, precisely. Hello,
Hello?
am I on?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Dan,
Couple
I don't know, you weren't asked to unmute, we're not at open homeowner comment at this time.
You didn't.
You will be
mute me,
muted.
So I,
Brooke, let me repeat my question. What's the,
If you want to go out to a third party that doesn't understand HOA, then you may do that as a board. It is your decision.
no, I'm thinking that if you allow, that you hire an accounting firm and they are independent, that they would be able to count the votes and verify that the document has the correct serial number for that person.
So serial numbers, yes, are only for your paper ballots. The reason Mark Saul recommended an HOA CPA is because they do understand the HOA laws and the statute that governs HOA.
Okay,
Yeah, it sounds like to me that the possible concern here is if we go with a CPA firm, which I do like the idea of an independent, team handling it. But if we go with someone who's not familiar with HOA, does that create the possibility of more issues because of potential mistakes? Not saying there is, but that is a concern I think we have to consider if we try to bring in someone who's not familiar with HOAs.
I didn't see that as a potential problem, but I understand your concern. The question is, how many more available HOA accounting firms do you think we can get a hold of and contact?
I contacted the 3 big ones that are used in the HOA. The 4th one did pass. He's no longer with us, so I can't go to him.
Oh,
Could we ask for more recommendations from council?
Yep, I can.
And I'm happy to do the legwork. If you want to pass that information on to me, I can make some phone calls. I won't let me get off the phone, so. But Jill, would you agree that having a third party does help seal or
A
put more
completely
trust?
neutral third party with
Well, yeah,
no
obviously.
ties to us? Yes.
Okay, good. Obviously,
So I guess,
the question then becomes, if they happen to be in Surprise, there is no chance any one of us is going to drive Surprise. That's an hour each way. There's no way. So that's going to limit the ability for in-person voting with them. So we'll have to figure that out. Fair?
Yeah.
So it sounds like you want more recommendations for a CPA firm, so then the current motion would die. And then you would be moving on to your next agenda item.
So the
We're not letting
re-election-
homeowners comment?
but before
We're
we
not
move
gonna
on,
let homeowners comment on this? If we're moving to the next item?
It would be, you're asking for more information, so then the motion dies, so wouldn't be a homeowner comment period.
Wow.
well, Brooke, I think the situation is not, we're not finished making the determination of, well, I think it needs a
can
new
continue.
motion. The new motion would be to appoint Alex and Jill to continue continue finding an HOA accounting firm that is willing to handle our reelection. That would be the motion.
Then homeowners can only comment on that motion of finding a CPA firm.
Well, I'm making the motion. I didn't hear a second, so we got to go that way.
Well, so what does that mean, Brooke? Does that mean that until we have a CPA firm dialed in, which we didn't as we came into this meeting, of course, because we're just discussing. But does that mean that this kicks the reelection thing down the road even further?
Correct.
but I think we need to set some timelines for ourselves that are reasonable to make sure we can, try and do this and see what our options are. At least have some kind of time as defined if we're gonna do this.
And Brooke, if we find a CPA firm tomorrow, right?
Mhm.
How do we get this process started again? How quickly can that happen?
Well, then you would need to advise your council that you found a CPA firm. And then they can draft the ballot and it can start.
Okay, so we don't need to hold another board meeting like we are now to
Nope,
bring
you
up the
can make a
reelection.
unanimous written approval to move forward with that CPA firm via email.
Right, but what I'm saying is we don't need to do a new board meeting to address the
Nope.
reelection, right?
Nope.
Okay.
That's correct.
So the citizens still wouldn't have time to comment on it then, if we do it by email. I think we need to let the residents comment on this. I really do.
I,
They're being shut out again. If we decide on a firm by email, that doesn't give the community any time to put any input in this.
I think that this is an issue that concerns the whole community. And as such, the community, I think, should have the opportunity to speak up about this, given just the limited interactions that I've had with a handful of homeowners. There are some valid concerns, and perhaps there are some things that we are not putting into consideration right now that might need to be put into consideration for how to proceed.
Okay, if you want to
That's
open it up
fair.
to homeowners, you can, and they would get a 3-minute each turn.
Okay, let's do that, please. Do I have to make a motion for it? Or do they just get to be unmuted and they get to talk now?
Nope, it's 1 by 1 for 3 minutes.
All right. Thank you.
Dan, I'm asking you to unmute.
Hi, I have a couple comments real quick. One, I'm glad to see that we didn't go down the road of having to take the 3 recommended by Focus, that I believe any accounting group can do this. Our rules are not all that difficult. Secondly, I think that any group that goes out to vet CPAs for that, and a third-party legal counsel, not the current Focus legal counsel, should be also included in that. And I think that you ought to include homeowners in that search, not just a couple of board members, or at least require those board members meet with a group of homeowners or in an open meeting to do that. And lastly, my 2 comments. Jill should not have to stand for re-election. She was not a beneficiary of any of the fraudulent votes, so she should be left alone, and we should be voting on 4 positions only in this. And I was dismayed, as Jill was, to see her ganged up on and surprised with a proposal that hadn't been reviewed with the entire board before the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
Katie and Kyler Martin, asking you to unmute.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Good.
Okay, a couple of things. So me and my wife are both realtors here in the Valley, and I just reached out to one of my brokers on various different HOA CPAs. And so me and him are going to also get a few different options as well. I do think it's very important not only to have board members involved in the choosing of this, but I do think that either all the homeowners or also a selected amount of the homeowners should be involved in that process as well, especially if we're trying to do third person. It's very hard to do so when the board is the ones, selecting or going through the suggestions. So that's just one thing that I have there. Another thing too, we kind of got brought into this because we saw, on a local Facebook group, the issues going on in our HOA. That's why we wanted to step in. We did not vote in the election. And so it may be irrelevant now, but I'd like to know if our vote was cast and how people found out these, votes were cast illegally. So I guess that's one question I have for you guys right now.
This is not an open discussion, it's just a homeowner comment. Do you have anything else?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you both.
Susan Petter, asking you to unmute. Sorry, I always butcher your last name. I'm sorry.
Unmute Susan.
You're still muted.
Unmute. There you go.
Yep.
Susan.
Yep, gotcha.
All right. Thank you. North side of Greenfield Lakes. first of all, homeowners do not need to be involved in this. It's why we elect a board, in my opinion. The reason we elect a board is so that we don't have to pay attention to these things. That's why we vote for people that we trust and people that we know, people that we live with. That is their job. Same reason we have senators and legislators. They don't ask us all. They trust them who we put in office to vote for them. And if you don't like them, then the next time of elections, you vote them out. The other thing is you all need to study Robert's Rules of Order. And the last thing is you kept mentioning third parties, and all of these companies that have been mentioned are third parties. So I just think a lot of people, and Jill, I'm sorry, I'm going to pick on you because you were making several of the mistakes. Words mean things. Sorry, I'm a school teacher, and everybody starts flinging around accusations. We don't know how many ballots were supposedly cast inappropriately. That number hasn't been released to anybody or that I've heard or that I care to listen to. I trust the board we have. We have a 5-member board that went through the election process, and I think almost 300 votes were cast in a neighborhood that's 800. That's kind of abysmal, I think, but it is what it is. They were elected to speak for us. So I have the ultimate faith in our board. Thank you very much for your volunteer job, board. Signing off.
Thanks, Susan.
Andrew, asking you to unmute.
Hi. President, I guess we're saying where we are, South Greenfield. It seems like the biggest problem we have is that people want a forum to discuss things. Brooke, I understand this is not the forum for that, and I feel like you're dealing with a lot of stress for that. If we had a separate forum, we could discuss about a lot of these things offline. People seem to have concerns if focus is there. We don't have focus run it. We raise all those concerns and we use a board. I don't know why we wouldn't do that. The other comment I would say to that, Dan King said something about we're going to do a re-election, but then not allow that. But then certain people wouldn't have to go through a re-election is antithesis to the entire process. We're going to revote. We revote for everyone. I don't know why there would be some silly concept that people wouldn't vote for the same person or wouldn't be allowed to change their opinion. But that just is absolutely antithesis to voting. So open forum is really what I'm asking for. That's all I would say. Thanks.
Thanks, Andrew.
Brooke Lane, go ahead and unmute, asking you to unmute.
Hi there. First, I would like to say that I appreciate the fact that there is going to be a new election. I think that there were absolutely problems with the other one, the last one, and I think this is the right direction. Secondly, quick comment to Katie and Kyler. Go onto Facebook. There are plenty of people to ping to get information. They will direct you to the right people who have the intel that will allow you to figure out whether a vote was cast or you were not. Third, with respect to the number of ballots, very early in the conversation, I don't know if it was John or somebody else said that there were 3 or 4 or 5 that were cast. That's absolute. I won't say it here, but that's not correct. There were more than 5 votes on my street that were cast illegally. So it is a much bigger problem than 3 or 4 or 5 out of several hundred. And finally, my question to the board, which I know this is just a comment and not an open discussion, but I would pose the question and let it be outstanding that I wonder if there's anything that's going to be done about figuring out where the problem was, where the illegal votes were cast, and who's responsible for that, because I think that's obviously the biggest issue here. That's all.
Vincent, asking you to unmute.
Hello, everybody. How we doing? Hey, all I wanted to say was I believe the same thing. If this was a big concern beforehand, there was 20-something people on the ballot. We voted. They won. I mean, how much more is this going to cost us for another vote? I mean, I'm not asking that because I know we're not allowed to ask questions. But when does this end? When does it end that we elect a vote? We elect a board and this continues on. When does this end? It's just endless ridiculousness, so that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Vincent.
Thanks, Vincent.
Katie H, asking to unmute.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I want to agree with all of, what everyone else has said. There was obvious election fraud. I don't care if there were 5 ballots or 100 ballots that were fraudulent, like there needs to be a complete recast. And I would just like to, why couldn't we hire a third party and have them come to Greenfield Lakes Association or to, and cast the ballots there on 1 or 2 days for an hour or 2, or go to the golf course, at their, in their clubhouse and have that person. Why do we as residents have to go somewhere? Why can't they come to us, especially if they're being paid? And I would also just like to say that I don't think Focus should have any communication with any of these third-party vendors. I think it needs to go through the board and they need to be the ones to decide. And then last, I don't know who it was, but I think we do need to have some kind of open discussion where homeowners get their questions answered, because I have a lot of concerns and it seems like emails are sent and we get the same verbiage. Like we can't have open discussions outside of an HOA meeting, but when can we? Like homeowners need to be heard. We pay our HOA dues to have Focus, and we need to address our concerns and be heard. That's all I have.
Katie?
Thank you.
Art asking you to unmute.
Hello, good afternoon. First of all, if we're having a redo of the election, it should be a redo, as someone else has previously mentioned. We can't just say, well, we didn't find any fraudulent votes for candidate A, so they don't have to vote. If it's a re-election, it should be a complete re-election. Secondly, and probably more importantly, is just wondering, Brooke Harmon, is it possible that you could have set up a computer terminal in your conference room at your office where people would be able to sign in and vote on the election buddy, and there would be zero paper ballots no matter what? That seems like an obvious answer. If they claim they can't vote on their phone, their tablet, their computer, their GPS unit in their car, you make a terminal available and they just come in and vote, and that's it. That seems like a fair answer. No CPAs. Election Buddy is the ultimate third party in that they, other than cashing our check, we have no contact with them. So those are my two suggestions, is that the entire slate of candidates goes up for election, and that we look into using computer voting at your office in order to avoid any paper ballots whatsoever. Thank you.
Sure.
Katie? Katie asking you to unmute. Katie, you are unmuted. Katie?
Let's see, Dawn, Brooke, I don't see her name anymore.
I don't see her.
Okay, I just didn't know if it jumped down, so I didn't want to. Okay. Asking Bodie to unmute.
Thank you, Brooke. Question for the board. I know you're not answering now, but something to think about. If we're going to a third party because we don't have confidence in the first 2 parties, maybe we should change the first 2 parties. Having to go outside doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. If you can't trust the attorney, if you don't trust the management, why keep them? Why not just change them to somebody that we trust and not have to go to an outside source? Doesn't make any sense to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Viviana asking you to unmute.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted, I live here and I enjoy a lot of people here. So I just want to make sure we start with some positive vibes here. And I'm happy we're having this meeting. I do agree with the comments that a third independent parties should be involved. I see that as a benefit. So I just wanted to make sure I voice my opinion. I also wanted to ask, as this process is going through, just an idea to throw out there. We do have our portal that I think not long ago we received an email from our HOA board, like some of the updates or files might be on there. So I think that might be a possibility for us to have our questions and answers for the future, whether it's this topic or any other topic there, to give everybody an opportunity to submit their questions and for everybody to see the answers that are also being distributed to everyone. My other just quick comment as an idea as well is, since some of the HOA, like our HOA fees, right, whether they go to legal fees, maintenance, all those costs, could they also go, like if we don't want to use right focus in the future, if that happens, could we just have like our own independent website where, again, we have our own username and password, and then it doesn't have to go through focus for these Q&A sections, whether it's this topic or any future topic. So it gives everyone an opportunity to participate, whether you have Facebook or Nextdoor or any social media. I know there's several people in the neighborhood that they don't have social media. So it will be a good way to communicate for everyone. Okay, thank you, that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Melissa Jurgensen asking to unmute.
Just wanted to say thank you so much to all of the board members who have taken the time. And I know that you've spent many, many, many hours trying to figure out everything. And I know that that was a lot of hard work. I don't really see any reason, and I haven't seen any evidence to the fraud that has been mentioned. But if we do the election, I do probably will vote for the same people. And I'm just really grateful that you've stood up, and I know that your intentions were to make our community a better place. And that's what all I had to say. Thank you.
You.
Katie asking you to unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so I am a homeowner that did not vote and in the election for many reasons. And, you know, it was unfortunate that we had heard that somebody had, you know, forged one of our signatures. That wasn't something that we were, that wasn't a proud moment for our community, but I, you know, was able to get information on who we did apparently vote for, and a lot of them are on the board now. So I would ask that, you know, moving forward, either kindly step down or we would just have a whole new election for the future.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Alicia? Oh, yep. Asking you to unmute, Alicia. Alicia, sorry. If you hold down your space bar, as long as you're talking, it will unmute you as well if you're having problems unmuting.
Go ahead and maybe move on to someone else
Yep.
in the meantime.
Derek asking you to unmute.
Hello, thank you, everyone. I also did not vote in the election. It was due to a misunderstanding on my part regarding the scheduling of it, rather than a, lack of desire to vote, I was then shown a ballot with what appeared to be my name on it, though it was clearly not my signature, and then also shown a list of a number of other ballots that were similarly cast fraudulently. My understanding is that, again, a number of the board members currently sitting were the ones who were voted for in this way. So I don't know that those seats were, were gained fairly and correctly. I'm not obviously. I think one of the big questions is, and it was raised earlier, was are we having an investigation to find out how this came to be, who perpetrated the fraudulent votes? I understand that it looks like we're leaning towards a new vote, which is great. We're leaning towards a technology, hopefully, that would reduce the ability for this type of fraud in the future, which is great. But whether it was just someone who really wanted certain people to sit on this board, or it was the board members themselves who did it, I mean, there's no way to know. I have no clue whatsoever. But I think that's something that really should be investigated rather than just, quote unquote, corrected with a new, more secure vote, and just leave that question floating. I think it would be inappropriate. Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad we're having a new vote. There was a comment earlier that, hey, we vote for boards so we don't have to think about this stuff, just like we do senators and all. And that's true. But, we also care about election fraud and things of that nature. I mean, we've all heard, national commentary on that topic in years past. So I think we care about it, hopefully, as a people on, national or state level. And I think here in this community, we should also care about it, and maybe do, if we can, the legwork and the investigation to find out how this came to be and who was involved in it. So, but again, I will be sure to be paying a lot more attention, and will be casting my vote and trying to inform myself on the candidates and where they stand going forward, for sure. So anyway, that's it for me. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
JB, asking you to unmute.
Yeah, hello. Joe over here, Greenfield Lakes resident for about 5 years now. Pretty much ditto everything the guy before me just said. I think it's very important that we look into the why of this entire ordeal. I think that's a bigger question than what resulted, although we do definitely need to have another reelection and have somebody independently oversee that. That's going to be very important. My real comment and or question is, you guys said earlier that, based on the 3 or 4 people that came out up front and said that they had received notices that they completed voting and they hadn't even voted, that's why you guys are redoing this election. And I guess I'm curious, what took so long? It's been 2 months now. We knew those 3 or 4 people. Were around way back when this happened, yet you guys still appointed yourselves as the board, and the people who ran and didn't get fraudulent votes didn't have a chance or that same opportunity that you guys did. But for some reason, we're functioning right now like you guys are an official board. And I like a lot of you, and I actually like a lot of you personally, but if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Something's going on here, and it's not good. And I would just appreciate more involvement as a person who ran for the board and didn't win because of the unfair election. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
AG Harmon, asking you to unmute. Or Amy, sorry.
I just wanted to say I 100% agree with the past few people who have spoken. I think we definitely need to have a investigation that it goes beyond the board, because I honestly do not believe that it was somebody who got on the board who did the fraud. I think it came from an outside source. For some reason, I really don't know, but that is something that it's a big why. Why, for an unpaid position, is somebody willing to cause, illegal actions for an unpaid position. Doesn't make sense. That's number one. Number two, I think we should also open it up to people who did not run before, and see if they are more open to running now. And why do we still have to have Focus and this lawyer as our representatives? We obviously, none of us trust them. Why can't we have in-person meetings? Why do we have to do all of this that's hidden? None of the actual homeowners know what's going on. When it comes down to it, it's our money. And I guess since nobody can answer because we're not allowed, which I don't get that either, that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Amy.
Alicia, asking you to unmute. A. Schultz, asking you to unmute.
Yeah, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I guess I just have a comment. I hear a lot of people bashing Focus. And I guess I'm just curious where the evidence is that Focus committed some kind of fraud or illegal activity. I just, when people say that they speak for everybody in the neighborhood, I mean, that's not entirely true. And so I'm just wondering, what dog does Focus have in the fight to commit some kind of fraud to rig our election with the board members? But that was just my comment. I just don't understand where the evidence is that Focus would even want to do anything like that. But that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Alicia, asking you to unmute one last time. If you do hold down, if you're on a computer, if you hold down your space bar and keep holding it, it does unmute you and allow you to speak. Okay. All right, board, it's back to you. Nope, hold on, I got another one. Alicia, can you? There you go.
Yeah, sorry about that. We didn't have our microphone enabled on the Zoom program there.
No problem. Go ahead.
First of all, I would like to reiterate what a previous community member mentioned about the fact that if we are going to go through this revote process as a community, it should be a complete revote. Nobody should be exempt from it. It starts from ground zero. It should be anybody that wants to throw their name in the hat to be elected. We should just redo this as if the first one never happened. Second of all, thank you to the current board members. I think accusations being thrown around about any current board members occupying their seat currently illegally or by any unsavory means is a large accusation to throw around, and I think that's offensive. Third, everybody's having all these suggestions about hiring firms, hiring lawyers, hiring accountants. I don't know if our neighborhood is aware that these cost money. They come out of our neighborhood expenses that are already being drained through this current process of having to revote again, defending our community, defending against lawsuits brought by current residents that are far in the minority as far as the number of community members. Currently, I think over 750. So if we continue to play games as a neighborhood and we're going to keep questioning votes and re-electing and hiring firms and hiring lawyers, we're going to be broke as a community, everybody. So I think you need to keep that in mind, that yes, this does need to be done and redone with some accountability, but let's not waste all of these board meetings chasing down a bunch of accusations and ridiculousness. Let's just get on with it. Let's have a vote that everybody agrees to by a party that everybody agrees to conduct the vote. And those results are the official results. And then we can move on as a community, because this is getting absolutely out of hand.
Thank you. Christian, I'm asking you to unmute.
Yes, thank you, Brooke. Yes, I want to kind of agree with a couple of the previous speakers. My biggest surprise is that everybody people have been talking on social media. There was fraud. There was votes cast for people that didn't cast votes. Focus is the most corrupt HOA management company. The previous board is the most corrupt board. And the new board is crap as well. Where is the proof of all that? Everybody's been talking about there's proof. I haven't seen any proof. Has the board seen any proof? I would be curious to know. And if there was fraud, well, how many votes are we talking about? If we're talking about 3 or 4 votes, will that change the election? If you absolutely want to do it, hire the cyber ninjas, for my crying out loud. I mean, seriously? I mean, this is really getting ridiculous. There's this typical vote and corruption of vote. If there is proof, board, do a re-election. Yeah, if there's enough proof to change the vote that you didn't win. If you're still going to be voted in, then I don't see why we have to go through all of this. This is really getting ridiculous and wasting everybody's money just because some people have a personal, maybe financial interest in changing everything. My experience is that a lot of these people that have been yelling and screaming and complaining about things have not attended board meetings ever until this one. And I can see today there are several people that I've seen for the first time that have been yelling, especially from the grassroots movement, and that I've never seen at a board meeting. So why were you before? How can you accuse the previous board of wrongdoing if you haven't even attended board meetings? And now you're doing it with a new board. By all means, I really commend you, the new board, also for stepping in. It's a courageous, unpaid job. And I don't believe that you deserve that unfair treatment. Neither did the previous board, and neither does Focus Management, which is a management company that got hired by homeowners to do the job for you. And you're just nonstop accusing them. And I just think it's splitting up the community. I've never seen this community split up that badly. And thank you very much for these people who are trying to split up the community. You've done an awesome job. Okay, that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Christian. Scott, asking you to unmute.
Hi, I'll be very brief. It obviously already seems like it is a collection of interest that everyone's going to revote, and it's just how. And again, as in the past, I offered, since our golf course is centrally located to the HOA community, if you wanted to have a CPA firm sit there and have people drive up, I will also pay for an off-duty officer to be on hand to watch, and then people can come in, show their ID, do their vote in person, in writing, and then be counted by that CPA firm. And with that portion of it, as far as having to have a meeting house, A, it's close, B, it's free. And so just throwing that out there for everybody. That's all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Jonathan, asking you to unmute.
Thank you. Can you see me?
No.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, at least I got that right. First and foremost, thanks for going over. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be an hour or more, but I assumed it'd be a little longer. In regards to a couple of the comments that people said in regards to our costs as an HOA, it seems to be a misnomer that this is affecting our cost. Our legal costs are due to increased insurance and legal fees, not getting to the bottom of this fraud. And those folks that say it doesn't exist, several people just told you it does exist. Their signatures were forged. In addition, the community had a meeting that showed all the members that were willing to listen where the forgeries were, including 2 deceased people, 22 other forgeries that people came forward and verified. So there is verification of this. I do applaud you for having another group create a new election for us. We'll just have to come to an agreement how that is done for all of us. I think Art May said, let's have a laptop and everyone can vote from there. Obviously, that doesn't work when we're trying to verify the validity of each vote because it's one IP address, et cetera. Everyone would have to do that from their own location. But unfortunately, in regards to validating that, I think those were the only votes that weren't available to be looked at versus the paper ballots. So we'll all have to come to agreement as a community on how we move forward with the voting process, the re-election, and which firm does that. That's all.
Thanks, John.
Aaron Gilmore asking you to unmute.
Hi, yes. A couple people have mentioned voting in person only, and I would just ask for accessibility purposes that there be more than one way to vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I have no more raised hands. Board, go. It's back to you.
Brooke, I have a comment, just for the record, since we've got many homeowners online now. Would you, for the record, give a round number of what the cost would be to have this revoked?
Between $8,000 and $10,000.
Thank you.
That's also including a CPA being involved and everything, right? That's
yep. Yep.
I would also like to address what has been brought up multiple times, which is the concern that there is lack of acknowledgement that there are ballots that are in question. I myself have gone through all of the ballots. Okay. I've seen the same things, and I can acknowledge that there are very, very concerning issues with the ballots. Which is why this whole issue was brought up to the board. I was the one that brought it to the board's attention. I want to say for everybody that is on the board, I'm sorry, I'm going to speak for myself here. I 100% back each individual that's on this board that they are of the highest integrity. Whether or not you want to believe that is fine. But I do strongly suggest that you consider other possible causes or reasons for why something like this would happen. Because I say that because there's a lot of suspicion about board involvement. The board wants to help. I mean, this is a volunteer position, largely driven, I would say, by a couple of specific community-related issues. That being said, we are all neighbors. We are all people that are a part of a community, and we should be working together to find and solve problems. I don't know what the board intends to do, but as a cybersecurity specialist myself, I do intend to take a look into this further, because it's made all of our lives on the board hugely more difficult. It's a problem, right? That being said, the decisions that we make, we could all step down. So tonight, we could all step down on this board meeting.
I think we should.
But then who runs the
Alex?
election? Who does the HOA then become managed by? Who makes those
We
decisions?
were without a board for a period of time from, when was it? The recall to the new vote. There was no
we
board.
didn't have a.
We're an illegitimate board.
Jill,
truly.
We do not have the same situation and knowledge that we had then like we do now. With the knowledge that we have now, and given the amount of shade that has been thrown on Focus and the law firm that has been handling the election, how do you propose that we solve this if we all step down right now?
There's no reason why we can't find a third party.
Who's we?
We decide, okay, that's what we're going to do, but we don't take any more actions as a board.
We can't.
We're not legit,
if we
guys.
don't, so then how do we go about running a new election if we're not able to make that decision?
What do you mean? I just said, we go out, we find the neutral third party,
If
we
step
get
down,
the
we
election
lose.
set up, but in the meantime, we don't do anything as a board.
I would like to remind.
Furthermore, the comment that because I wasn't one of the 4 or 5 of you on that slate that all those fraudulent votes were for, that I should somehow be left alone in this vote. No, that's not what I want. You know, if I don't get voted in on the new board, then so be it. But I would never say, oh yeah, you leave me out of it, okay? Because this whole thing is just, it stinks. It really does.
We're trying to get rid of the stink. That's why we're working on it right now. We've been trying to work on it since we took the position. Get rid of the stink. We're not doing this for fun. We're trying to help neighbors figure this stuff out.
Well, previously, Alex and Jill were going to go search for an accounting firm, if my memory. And so that doesn't require any additional board action. Just go find an accounting firm. We're going to have the vote.
I think we also should consider, let's look at an outside legal firm as well to handle it. Why not? If we're going to do it, let's do everything across the board, straight and clean.
Legal firm or CPA firm, Cody?
I think we need both, right? Brooke, CPA handles the election. If we have a CPA firm, what is the involvement of legal at that point? Do we still need legal to do something with the election? Or can we have just a CPA do it?
They would draft your ballots.
Okay, so we still need a legal firm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you find an HOA accounting firm, they most likely would have referrals to HOA attorneys. Just one more comment. There's several people that mentioned about the voter fraud we should investigate. My question is, who's going to investigate? How much money are you prepared to spend on it? And are you going to call people in and testify under oath? You got all those questions about trying to investigate. I think moving forward, we have the election again by a third party accounting firm and unrelated law firm, and not focus on trying to find out what happened.
One, who's going to handle looking for CPA firms? And then 2, how are we going to go about looking for outside legal on this as well?
Jill and Alex agreed to be on the search committee.
And then Brooke, you were going to get possible more recommendations from current council?
Yes.
If Jill doesn't object, I would be part of the 2 and I would be the third person. If you do object, I will stay away.
You can't have a quorum of the board, so you have to have 2 and under.
All right.
So you could spearhead, the other would be the attorney, Wise.
Yeah, maybe we should have 2 look for attorney, 2 look for CPA. This way to split the load a little bit.
All right, then Cody, you and I can look for the attorney.
I'm happy
Are
to
you
do
okay
it.
with that? Okay.
Absolutely. Hey, Brooke, can you make sure Alex is off mute? He lost his connection. He said he jumped back in on his phone.
Yes, let me see, what did he come in as? Oh, there he is. I just saw him. Alex asked you to unmute.
Jesus.
There you go. Okay.
Sorry about that. I would say, given, let's see, it's Wednesday. I would say a week and a half. So by next Friday, would that work?
I feel like that's reasonable.
8-2.
Fine.
If that's all that you guys want to conduct, then we can skip the next agenda item and skip executive session.
Brooke, I think you got some more hands raised. Do we let them comment or not?
They have commented once already. Do you want them to comment again, board? Usually it's one turn in 3 minutes on a comment.
Well, I think for the sake of transparency and given our situation, I think they should be given the opportunities to speak their piece. That's my preference.
Okay. Board, rest of the board, are you in agreement?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
Jonathan, asking you to unmute.
First of all, John, thank you for forwarding all the stuff that we talked about before. He brought everyone back to the table with obviously stating that we need their reelection and how we go about that process. So thank you. And then thank you for allowing us to speak again. Jill, I think Alex was asking, and I may be wrong, a hypothetical, if you all were to step down, then how does this process move forward? That again would be focused in the law firm taking hold of it versus you guys. So if I'm incorrect, Alex, you can jump in on that, but I felt like he was asking if we do step down, what then happens, which we don't want, because then again, that's left to not the board and it's left outside groups. That's all.
Fair enough. Okay, I hear the point.
Thank you.
Dan King asking to unmute.
Since we've decided we're going with the reelection of the entire board, we said we were going to post the same slate of people who ran the first time. I think there ought to be the opportunity for some people to withdraw their names if they choose to, or other people to throw their hat into the ring. I think you ought to start with a new call from scratch for board members.
Me asking you to unmute.
I 100% agree with having a whole, letting people throw their names into the hat if they decide to, and if people who put their name in the hat prior are able to take it back. Because I know my husband only did it for me because I can't do it because I have too many health problems. With that said,
Amy, H.E. Hillman.
What? Can you not hear me?
Nope.
I'm sorry, you didn't mute me.
Oh, okay. Okay. But with that being said, there is still the big issue of focus being the management company. I mean, I really do believe that that's where most people have a hesitation. Because I will say it again, I do not believe that one person on this board right here, has done anything wrong. I have met almost all of you in person or spoken to you online, and you seem like good, upstanding people to me. I do not feel that you would be doing something that shady. And really, what are you going to get out of it? I just don't get it. So I think we need to have a discussion about a new board. I think we need to have a discussion that is more, I mean, not a new board, a new management company, discussion that is more inclusive of residents, not where we can only speak for 3 minutes or whatever, some wacky laws that I don't even know where they came from, and maybe set up some committees, because all of this is going to be a lot of work. And I'm sure there's going to be tons of people who are willing to help out. I am willing to help out in any way that I can when I am not ill. So I would be very happy to be on a committee for anything that we come up with as a whole, as a community. And that's it.
Thank you.
Andrew, asking you to unmute.
Hey, I just wanted to reiterate again, you need an open forum for this. The reason we only get 3 minutes to talk is because this is not a forum for discussion. This is the forum for the board to vote on things and move through them. Normally doesn't take this long. This is not the right forum. This is not a go out and talk to people thing. We do need that. I know a lot of people have said, hey, we're really stressed about this fraud thing. I don't know what's going on with a lot of this. And I know a lot of people don't, because somebody says something, somebody else something. There's something on a Facebook group, there's in a private Facebook group, there's something on Nextdoor, and you kind of have to cobble all the things back together. We had the same issue when we had the previous board. There were responses to threads that people didn't see. We need a unified forum that does not have focus in it, does not have anybody else, where people can actually speak their connections or speak their what they need and discuss things in a forum that is appropriate for that. This is not that. Everybody wants to be heard. We get a different forum for that. Alex mentioned having background in info stuff. Can we set up a website or something, or can we identify a website where we could all have a clear open forum? That would be my suggestion. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alicia, asking you to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so sorry, my husband was also on the Zoom meeting with us, so he was the one who spoke on our behalf. I would like more clarity as to where the fraud came from as well, because I can almost guarantee you not a single person sitting on the board made any fraudulent ballots whatsoever. This is for other homeowners to hear on this. I know it's not a forum open for discussion, but there is a lot of talk on Facebook. Very inappropriate things have been said and deleted. Very large accusations made, and it needs to stop, because you are now tampering with a new revote, because you're convincing other homeowners who have no idea what's happening, who has no idea what happened so far, and you're now telling them on your forum, in your opinion, of how things have played out. Stop the Facebook discussions. You guys are literally beating a dead horse. Thank you.
Katie H, asking you to unmute.
I just wanted to add, Brooke, you had said it was between $8,000 and $10,000 for a new election. That seems absolutely ludicrous. Can we as HOA or, as residents see what that breakdown is? And how much of that does Focus HOA charge for this reelection? And then my next question would be, can we put on the ballot to recall Focus HOA? It seems like a lot of us don't trust Focus. So can that be one of the items on the ballot to recall and get a new HOA board? Or not board, excuse me, a management company. And the people that have been talking about an open discussion, we're all entitled to our own opinions. There is a Facebook group page, Greenfield Lakes Community, on Facebook. And, people are asking questions and answering them. If we just could all keep it cordial, and respectable, that would be, great, just like the last person said. But I think it's a great forum for people to go on and ask questions and see what's really going on. Because I know that I don't get emails from Focus. When the new board was elected, I never received an email of who was elected. I had talked to an acquaintance or a friend over at Holiday Toast and Tap, and found out who was elected, because I had no idea who was elected. Like, why is residents, aren't we receiving emails about that? Like, that would be my question. And I would like to see that breakdown of that $8,000 to $10,000 for that recall, because that just seems, and why do we have to have an attorney and a CPA? Why can't either an attorney handle it or a CPA handle it? Why do we have to have both? That would be my question.
Thanks, Dave.
Carrie Miller asking you to unmute.
To all the people who said that they don't believe that there was any fraud, there was fraud. I saw my name signed and I couldn't believe someone had done that. Just to keep it short, because I'm also babysitting my granddaughter here. If there is a new election, I think that it actually, a lot of people are having trouble knowing what's going on. I think it actually needs to be printed out and put on each door. I would be willing to walk door to door to do that. And that's it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Vincent asking you to unmute.
Yeah, how you doing? Hey, I spoke for a minute before, but I have something else that I thought about. I got off, but I came back on. Another theory is that I hear a lot of people blaming the guys that are on the board now. Oh, they didn't get voted, and Jill, oh, she didn't vote. I think here's another theory. Maybe I think maybe that the people that lost that are on this whatever committee it's called, or pro whatever the hell they call themselves. I think that they called all their friends, and when they lost, and said, "Hey, call up and say you didn't vote, so we have to have a revote," wasting all our time, all our money, and all our resources. And Jill, your attitude is terrible. I don't even know how you got voted on the board. It's really sad how you look on this meeting. So you guys fight it out and let us know what happened. All right, have a good day. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Vincent.
Miserable bitch.
Let's keep it
Katie
cordial,
H.
guys.
I did spoke earlier about, we did find out that, there was a ballot signed by my husband that wasn't his signature. But I do want to say that when I had contacted Focus, that they were very transparent on me asking questions and telling me who I apparently voted for. So I do need to speak on their behalf and say that I feel that they were transparent when I was unhappy to hear about the whole situation. And I do hope that we all can come together and figure out a plan that's not going to cost us a whole ton, but that we can, just move on from this. And that's just my opinion.
Steve?
Seth asking you to unmute.
Hello. Well,
The only reason I wanted to tap in here today was to respond to the person that just was previously on calling Jill the B word. And for focus, Brooke, for you to even allow that to happen is unbelievable. And for any of the other current board members to just sit there and not say anything. I mean, in all honesty, you guys shouldn't even be on the board in the first place. We're going through a re-election. You need to figure out how we're going to do the re-election, and you guys need to step down. You're an illegitimate board. And this Vincent person, to say this about a lady, I don't know if you're used to picking on women or what, but it's totally uncalled for. And that's all I have to say right now.
Board, are you letting people speak for a third time?
You know, Seth, to answer that, that's why this open forum is so dangerous, because we don't know what people are going to say. We don't know how people are going to react. Obviously, we want to keep it civil. We want to hear what the concerns are of the neighborhood, and we can't control what is said. So we're all sitting here taking it on the chin. It's unfortunate, you know, what was said, but again, it's an open forum. We can't control what's said. I for one, I mean, here we are, 7:36. We've been on for 96 minutes. I for one, you know, would like to stop the open session because I don't think we're getting anything accomplished now. But that's my opinion.
Are you making a motion to adjourn?
I'm making a motion to adjourn, yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No. If there's still homeowners that want to comment, I think we need to hear them.
We're running the risk of something else coming up. So just everybody.
You know what, Marcus? I'm a big girl and he can say what he wants. Okay. And the fact that he was so combative tells me something about, you know, him. So
fair
hey,
enough. I'm just backing you up for why we didn't back up when Seth called us out on that. That's all I'm saying. Look,
no, I appreciate it. But I just feel like if there's still homeowners out there that have not been called on and they would like to say something, I think we need to let them talk. This is like the major thing in our community, and we're just shutting it down now because somebody said something mean. I don't think that that's really right. So
we're not shutting it down because somebody said something mean. I was in favor of continuing to allow people who had their hand raised to make their comments. We're going on to the third round now. How much longer are we going to continue?
I'm not sure.
That's what I'm asking. Are we going to allow people a third and fourth and fifth time?
There is a motion on the floor. Cody, your vote? And you can abstain. Sorry.
I'm torn down the middle. I am all in favor of letting people talk, but at the same point, at a certain point, right, we have to get this done.
Can I offer an amendment? Amendment to the motion to adjourn is to allow the three people who have currently have their hand raised and only those three, and then we go to the adjournment.
Marcus, are you good with that?
I'm good with that, yes. Great idea, John.
Cody?
Same. Yep, I would agree with that.
Alex?
Yeah.
Jill?
Yes.
Okay. Carrie, you have up to 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm sorry. I had my granddaughter here, so I wasn't very focused. I just wanted to say that I thought it was nice of Scott Anderson to offer the golf course as a place to have the voting. I think we should try to cut costs as much as we can. And that's all I wanted to say, is if we could explore that a little more. That's it. And thank you very much. You're all my neighbors and I appreciate your work.
Okay.
Thank you, Derek.
Amy, asking you to unmute.
I am just wondering if there is a possibility where we can have an actual open forum meeting somewhere where the neighbors can get together in person and be able to have this discussion where nobody's put on mute, where we can actually discuss with each other and find different ideas and different ways to handle this, because this is not working, obviously. And
Oh, I hit mute too fast. Go ahead and unmute. Sorry. You're muted.
yeah, no, that was all I really wanted to say. So that's
Thank
it.
you. Katie H, unmuting you.
All I wanted to do was thank Jill for being our voice, and allowing us to have a voice, and to apologize for the other residents' words. It's absolutely disgusting, and no board member should have to deal with that. But I just wanted to thank Jill for, standing up for us and fighting for what's right.
All right. Those three have now gone. If you would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Well, there's a motion on the floor, and I think there was a second, so I'm voting yes.
Marcus?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Cody?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Adjournment at 7:41. Are we adjourning to executive session, or are you guys done for the evening?
Do we have something that's urgent that needs to be discussed now or not?
No.
No meetings necessary then.
Thank you all.